Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews. I am Adrian, joined by my co-host Rob, and today we're going to be talking about episode 6 of WandaVision. So everyone, we're going to talk about episode 6 of WandaVision, but as we've been doing, this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. We're going to talk spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, or you know what, if you don't really care, continue watching. But yeah, if you haven't seen the episode and you care about the spoilers, I would say leave, watch the episode, come back, check us out. All right, let's jump right into it, Rob. Episode 6, it continues off of what happened episode 5, which left us with a bombshell.
Right.
She recast Pietro, which is with Evan Peters, who plays Quicksilver in the X-Men universe, and now it's like he's moved over to this MCU, and we don't quite know what's going on. And at the end of that episode, with that, we had Vision and Wanda kind of having a little bit of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Vision is starting to question what is really going on. He's starting to get those little glimpses, very much so like a Truman Show vibe, where he's finding little things that are kind of opening his eyes to the world around him. And so now in this episode is a spooktacular filled episode. It's a Halloween episode, which is, again, another television trope, which they tend to always have like a special holiday episode. And I think in the episode, Quicksilver kind of mentions that, like, oh, they have brought out all the kids for that special holiday episode.
Right. Yeah.
And so now he's kind of like on patrol and trying to investigate, figure out what's going on in Westview. And the show takes off from there, and there's a lot going on here. Rob, let's jump right into it. What are your thoughts of episode 6, WandaVision?
Well, I can say that for this episode, I like the mixture of the outside the hex and the inside the hex. We get a good mixture of what's going on outside and what's going on inside. And I feel like now that the show, the ball is rolling with the show, I feel like it's more, you are still getting left with cliffhangers at the end of each episode, but you're getting enough information to hold you over until the next week. So I am liking that. This was, and you're gonna hear this from pretty much anyone who's gonna review this episode. It definitely, with the kind of the opening part of it, you get a Malcolm in the Middle kind of vibe. I feel like they were, I don't know if they were going for like a 90s or early 2000s, like a late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because they're going like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and this one, it almost felt like they kind of skipped a little bit.
Yeah.
I know Malcolm in the Middle was like early 2000s, and I got that definitely that same kind of feel where they no longer had the laugh track, and they no longer, and it was a little bit different where one of the boys are kind of breaking that fourth wall.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall,
talking to the audience directly, and that is definitely a trope or a style of that era, early 2000s, late 90s, something like what you said, Malcolm in the Middle, or Freaks and Geeks, and shows like that,
So, but yeah, no. So yeah, definitely. I mean, you're going to hear that a lot when it comes to this specific episode, but, I enjoyed, Evan Peters' here's the thing. This is what I was looking for in the opening. How it starts off and you see like it, it's Wanda, and it's like Wanda Maximoff, and kind of like she is in the Vision. And then I was waiting to see when Quicksilver, well, I don't want to call him Quicksilver because I don't even know if he's Quicksilver yet. But Petro, he pops up, and underneath his name it says, as himself. So I was just like, they could have put a lot of minds to rest or solved a lot of questions if they would have just put like, oh, Pietro as Quicksilver kind of thing. But they're leaving that, I guess, to maybe later episodes. But the whole episode I did enjoy. And one thing you start to notice is I don't know if it's Wanda's losing control, or maybe she's just stretched too thin, as far as like we see like kind of the outskirts of town, these people who are almost like mindless drones and just kind
Yeah,
of
you know
repetitive
that.
and just kind of standing there. Yeah, I don't know what were you gonna say?
No, that yeah, that was one of the things that got me. Is like as Vision kind of moves further away from the center of town, and there's that one part where you see the girl who's like, and then the guy in the background where they're kind of like repeating movements,
Right.
and you can see like the tear coming down her
Yeah,
face,
yeah.
like she's crying. Like
That was
obviously,
sad. That was a little
it
sad.
was it was kind of like wow. And then then when he goes to basically the border of Westview, and it's like everyone is just frozen
Yeah. Yeah.
still, like they're not moving at all. And so that was kind of interesting, as in, it seems maybe Wanda's only controlling those around her, and everyone else is kind of frozen in time and not really capable of moving. So
Right. Or maybe she could put him like on some kind of autopilot, but um you know, and we start to see like Vision pretty much kind of lied to Wanda. We see in the episode where
yeah,
he says he's going on patrol, and then later on in the episode, Wanda's talking to one of the guys who's like doing the patrol,
yeah,
and she's like, "Oh, Vision will help you," and he's just like, "Vision's not working." But even with that character interaction with like the guy who was doing security, he even like kind of acknowledges like, "Oh, is there something you want me to
yeah, you
do?"
something
Like,
wanted to change,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's almost like it like what's kind of going on, because you can like she like Vision's doing his own thing now. Like he doesn't seem like he's under her spell or her control, that he's kind of just exploring and trying to figure out what's going on. And some of like we've seen before, some of these characters are just kind of like acknowledging the fact that they are not in control and that Wanda's in control, and Wanda gets taken back a little bit by it,
Yeah,
like how do you know, or what are you talking about? uh and I did like Evan Peters as Petro. His role throughout, he kind of, he almost is, I'm not going to say breaking the fourth wall where he's talking to us, but he's calling out these typical sitcom
yeah, I know he
things.
plays into those like that fun
Yes.
uncle trope, and we've seen that from time and time again. Like um you know classic reference would be the uncle, what's his name from Full House.
Uncle Jesse or Joey?
Not John Stamos, the other one. I can't remember their
Okay,
names.
Joey. Yeah. Wait, is it Joey?
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I
but
think
he
it's
but he
Uncle
reminds me
Joey.
of that. Like it's like that kind of like that goofy, fun, like younger single uncle that like, oh, I'm gonna have fun with these like kids here, and like they're gonna and then wreak havoc all over all over the town. And that's I like the way they kind of
Yeah.
did that. Um, with Evans Peters' Quicksilver character, and then how it kind of like they try to build on that brother sister twin dynamic with him, and throughout the episode she's still kind of questioning, is this really my brother, who is this guy?
Right.
And then, so
Right.
she starts asking him questions, and he's like, I know what you're trying to do, you're
Yeah.
trying to like trick me or whatever, but hey, it's me, I'm your bro, like and so at I think it's like towards the end, right as we move into that climax of the episode, where he's sitting there telling her like, hey, look, I'm not one of these people. I'm not your husband. You can talk to me. He's trying to
Right.
ask her, like, he's like, I'm impressed. He's all, this is way different than giving people nightmares. He's like, you're kind of like just creating like this whole world for yourself.
Yeah.
How are you doing it? And Wanda's response is like, kind of like, I don't know. And so when she does that and gives that sort of response, I'm kind of feeling like, okay, she's controlling it, but is there something or someone that's controlling her?
Hmm.
Because again, she also referenced it in the last episode at the end, where she's kind of like, I don't even know how we got here. Like,
Right. Right.
and so again, there's this thing that's sort of happening that is something kind of using Wanda and using all of her powers to control what's going on in Westview. And and then that was taking place. I really enjoyed that, but also you had like the whole thing outside of the hex,
Right.
much of what you're talking about with Dr. Darcy, Monica Rambeau, and Agent Wu, where they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they're starting to lose trust in wow, I totally blanking on the guy's name, the main guy, the
Isn't like Heyman or
yeah, it was like I was like
Captain Heyman or
yeah, like yeah, but he's got like some secret stuff going on now, and they're like, wait, he has like a bunch of hidden
Hayward.
files and
It's Hayward.
Hayward,
Hayward.
yes, and so there's stuff going on with him too. So he knows something that he's playing really close to the chest that he doesn't want
Right.
anybody else to find out. Like he's found something out and he's tracking Vision for some reason. Is it that he wants to like recapture Vision and probably weaponize him? Like I don't know. Like is there a way because like somehow Wanda's been able to bring him back from the dead, and that's
Right.
kind of piqued his interest of like, well, if she can bring him back to the dead and he's alive now, maybe we can take him back and use him or something. I don't know, whatever that may be. So we'll have to find out in the next episode. But at the end of all of that, or I almost forgot the whole scene with Agnes. We didn't
Yes,
even talk
yes,
about
yes,
that. That
yes.
whole scene where she's kind of parked at the edge of the city and she's kind of looking at. Remember when she says, "Don't go past Ellis Lane,"
Right.
or Ellis Drive or whatever it is, and she's kind of looking almost as if she was like subconsciously trying to escape but can't because Wanda's controlling her,
Because
and so when
Wanda won't
Vision
let her.
and there's been so many theories about who Agnes is, and we haven't found out who she is. But what's interesting is when Vision kind of releases her from control, she's like, "Oh my God, you're an Avenger. Are you here to help me? Are you here to help us and save
Mhm.
us?" And so it's kind of like, well, is she somebody very important, or is she just another random person that's kind of trapped? I don't I don't know. I
Right.
don't know. What do you think about that, Rob?
But then they also do. See, I'm with you because there's a lot of hidden stuff, a lot of little Easter eggs all over the show. But I'm not like 100% sure as far as like the secrets behind who people think Agnes really is. But if one of the things I heard is some type of witch, I'm not sure what exact character she is.
Yeah.
But they kind of play into it a little bit. I don't know if it's going down the road because she is dressed like a witch in the car. And right before, I don't know if it's right before Vision, kind of taps her back into like her character, or if it was right after that, but she starts laughing
Yeah.
like a witch. So, I haven't delved too deep into the comics as far as Scarlet Witch, but from what the little bit that I know, people are saying that maybe Agnes is some specific witch in the comics that I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of slack for because I don't know who that is. But so that I know enough of that to know like, okay, like are they actually like saying it without saying it, or is this just like Agnes is another person under control and this is just like a little Easter egg to like Agatha Harkness and kind of down that road. But I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was very this episode was dark. It was a very dark episode with everything going on. Not so much outside the hex, but inside the hex. Everything's like, it's happy, everyone's trick-or-treating, it's fun. But then you're on Vision with his hunt, and you like you were saying, you come across these people, and the lady with the tear and coming across Agnes, and you see like, she's like, am I dead? You're dead, and then she kind of like loses it for a little bit. So this was a very dark, sad episode, parts of it. And I thought it was a good kind of change and a needed change to show that what Wanda, if she is doing all this, and we know to an extent she is somewhat responsible for this, if not fully responsible for it, to see the hurt that she is causing upon these people to make her hurt go away, or at least mask it. So I thought just overall this was a really good dark episode that I guess at this point was needed to show what Wanda is doing to these people, because so far we've seen the laugh track and kind of the happy-go-lucky life, and now we're starting to see a little tiny taste of the reality that where Wanda has taken these people's lives, because they were real people who had real lives,
but now
so
they have no control.
Exactly.
And then at the very end, which I got to mention, where Vision breaks the plane and he can't quite get through, and it's like kind of tearing him apart.
Right.
And so what Wanda does in order to try to save him from being completely destroyed is she expands the hex. And so it swallows up a bunch of people, and Dr. Darcy, Kat Dennings' character, is one of them. So now she's a part of the hex. You know what though? I know Hayward was in the truck and they were on the run. Did they get sucked in? I don't remember exactly.
I don't think they got sucked
I
in.
think they escaped,
They,
right?
yeah, they escaped.
And the same thing for Agent Wu and Monica Rambeau, which they were on their run. Well, they were already on their way to go meet her guy. I don't know who. We still
Her
don't know.
guy, yeah. We have speculations, but
You know, maybe Mr. Fantastic,
or Doctor Doom, it possibly.
maybe who
We'll
knows,
see. We'll
right?
see.
But I think this was a very strong episode. And at the same time, after we got that kind of cliffhanger episode of episode 5, it was weird because you kind of want some answers and you still don't quite get
Yeah.
them. And if anything, you you're
You have more
given more
questions. You have more
questions than
questions.
answers. And so like now you're like, okay, what's what's going on?
Yeah.
I need answers. I can't wait another week. But here we are. We have to wait
Yeah.
another week, and it keeps the conversation going.
Yes, it does. Also on this episode, I think we kind of went over it. I mean, I don't know if it was a big deal or not, but the reason Wanda finds out that Vision is like outside of the hex is that is it Tommy and Billy, the her
Yeah, I
sons, right?
think it's
They develop their powers
yes.
in this episode, and it's very interesting to see. I If I'm not mistaken, it's like their name in the comic books is like Wicca and Speed or something like that.
Yeah.
Don't kill me if I get that wrong, but it was cool to see them have their powers or get their powers. And even Petro was like, hey dude, like,
Chip off
like,
of
yeah,
the
chip of the,
Maximoff
yeah,
block, yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was really cool, to see them. And I don't remember which one it was, Tommy or Billy, but here's what's going on with Vision. And so
Yeah.
he's got some kind of like telekinetic, ability or something from right there. So that was pretty cool. So, but yeah, no, this episode, I think, like I said, it up to this point, I feel like this might be my favorite or second favorite episode, just because we're starting to get more from both sides, and
Yeah, the way they're kind of playing between
yeah,
both the television series and the sort of real world
yes.
outside kind of watching, that seems to play well. They've kind of balanced it nicely. So
See,
it's
I was telling you guys, I said, 'cause I mean, I've told you and Danny, I was like, I just feel like the show's, it's going to be good. But, there were so many complaints about this show because
well,
it started off very slow, and it started off like we didn't know what we were getting.
and you
But
know what? That's an interesting conversation because I've had that conversation with a few people, and
okay.
they're kind of like, "Well, I started watching some of the first episode, and I didn't really know what was going on. It wasn't that interesting, so I just stopped, and they never watched the
They're
rest
missing
of it."
out. They're
And
missing
part of
out.
me feels like that's kind of on Marvel's marketing, like not really fully explaining what the show was. All they saw were clips of WandaVision being a riff on television sitcom throughout
Right,
the
right.
generations, and with no real context, and so it's kind of confusing. They're like, well, I don't really want to invest my time in that, and especially after Endgame was kind of a close of like a whole Marvel chapter of
Right.
that Marvel Cinematic Universe. People are kind of like, all right, that was a nice bookend. I'm kind of done, and so they need to kind of rebuild to continue on, and that's what they're doing with the series.
Right,
But
right.
again, people are like, I have no clue what I'm even watching right now, and I think that was the biggest issue. And I think we even talked about it was like,
Yeah.
okay, we were invested in it because we know that something else was going on because it's
Right.
Marvel, and they're building to something. But
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
most people, they were kind of like, I have no clue what I'm watching.
Yeah, for your average fan, it probably was maybe the first couple episodes a difficult watch, which is why the episode where they showed Wanda breaking, Vision's corpse out of, that confinement, it's this secure area.
Yeah.
Um I understand. This is all obviously this is hindsight and this is my opinion. I feel like at the end, if because this is Marvel, they probably had this show in the plans for a while. Um,
Yeah,
I feel like that scene would have been a good scene to leave at the end of Endgame, like original, because like that was the original plan, but then they took it out, and I'm
yeah,
assuming they put it in here in WandaVision. But to give us something, or to give your average fan who is just going to go see an Avenger movie because it's the Avengers movie and we got to see it, to give them something to be like, oh, okay, well, hey, like this end credit scene, Wanda's breaking into this secure facility and stealing Vision's body. And then, something like, WandaVision to come, a little taste just to get your average fan to want to tune in, to be like, okay, like we're getting these weird, old 50, 60, these episodes kind of style, episodic TV shows, but something big's going to come because we saw it in the end of Endgame. And, so you knew it was important, but again, that's hindsight, and they are Marvel, so they know what they're
yeah.
doing. I'm not gonna.
Maybe I think it was the right decision to not have it in Endgame because again, like I said, it was the bookend to that
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
first
you're right. I
four
agree with that.
phases of it, and it's like, all right, that's the end now of that first portion of it. So it was more proper to give it the ending that they did with like kind of like the how did they do it with like the images of like Tony Stark and they have
Right.
like their little signatures, right, of like all the main players, original Avengers, and so I think that was the right way to end it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know, maybe they had plans to add this post credit scene to Black Widow. Remember, Black Widow was supposed to come out
Ooh,
last
yeah,
year,
yeah, true, true.
and maybe this was their plan. Like, okay, we'll save it for Black Widow, and that way people will have an idea of what may be going on, or
Or even some kind of like, I mean, even if you would have just shown that, like some clip of Wanda break, like you could have just put this out as like a little 30-second 1 minute spot by itself, like
like on like a webisode or something, like
yeah,
on your
yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
page,
yeah, like
like
that,
so,
just to get people interested. Because I think you're right. I think, but I think the marketing wasn't that great. So you make a really good point there. But at the end of the day, I feel like nothing's, if you have Disney Plus, nothing's to stop you from waiting
yeah.
till all the episodes are done and be like, okay, now I'll watch it, which I will definitely do. I'm gonna watch them every week, but I'm definitely gonna, once it's all done, I'm gonna watch it pretty probably just all the way through and see how it plays that way, as opposed to watching once a
As a
week.
binge versus week to
Yeah,
week.
yeah, because I guess I've said it before. I feel like this show seems like it would be the best way to watch it is a binge, because there's so much secrecy, especially in the first few episodes. But my opinion, that's it. I'm sticking to it.
Well, I mean, we got 3 episodes left, and
Yes.
again, it was interesting. And again, Marvel is very smart. I mean, we both said it at the top. It didn't feel quite 90s as it did early 2000s, but
Right.
if we're calculating, every 10 years, right? 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we have 3 episodes left, which would go, next one would be 2000s, 2010s, and then 2020s, which is where we're at present day.
Right.
And so I feel like, okay, well, that's how they're going to do it, and uh, future television episodes were what, like shows like The Office, and reality.
Oh, that would be
You know
so.
what? And I
That
was
would
thinking,
be awesome.
and you know what? I was thinking about this too, like because of Vision's job is like in an office
Yes.
that would play actually really well, and I think fans, because The Office is wildly popular. I think over the last couple of years, it was like the most watched thing on Netflix. So
Yep. Thanks to me and my wife.
yeah, so I mean that would be interesting. It would, and I think it would play very perfect, as in with Vision in there and like playing that kind of riff of that along with reality TV, which
Yeah.
also grew in popularity. So I could see them going forward with that sort of style,
Like
and
even
then
like maybe if they did some kind of like a MTV like real world kind of style, or I don't know. But you said The Office, even like a Parks and Recs, but you said The Office, and
well,
I'm hooked.
I would imagine The Office, but after, especially after this last episode, I find it I mean, they can probably prove me wrong here with the next episode, but I find it very difficult to kind of go into back into a very lighthearted comedic style episode.
Okay.
Um, but who knows? It might work where where they have the sitcom stuff playing like a comedy,
Yeah.
even though there's something dark and sinister going on, and then everything outside of that is very serious, very dark and sinister, and like all of that. But who knows? I don't know. All I can say is they've done a great job with this
Yes.
with this
Yes.
show, and episode 6 more questions and answers. But I think that's a good thing, especially when it's a week to week thing, and you're kind of like, all right, I can't wait to get to that next episode because again, it keeps the conversation going. So
Yes. Yes,
Disney
it
and
does.
Marvel, they're very smart in that way. Whereas in like streamers like Netflix, where they kind of just drop the whole thing. You'll talk about it for like 2 weeks, and then the conversation's over.
Yeah.
So I think they're smart, and like we want to keep it going. You want to keep that conversation going week to week to week, and there we are. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the latest episode of WandaVision? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you mad because you have more questions than answers? Are you even caring about the series of WandaVision? Why don't you comment down below? Let us know what you think. Also, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. And follow us on Instagram at On the Fence Movie Reviews.
And remember, we'll catch you on the fence. WandaVision.